The Diary of Dr. X, Episode 7, Winnipeg Harvest Food Bank. As I may have mentioned, I have been a patron of the Winnipeg Harvest Food Bank intermittently for several years now, ever since I graduated with a somewhat unmarketable PhD from, well, a somewhat unmarketable university. To date, I've taught 26 courses at the Universities of Winnipeg and Manitoba as a sessional or contract instructor. Sessional instructors are also exploited by the academic system. You see, being non-unionized, temporary employees, they get a fraction of what full-time faculty get paid for doing exactly the same work. Maybe a third, and no office either. You get maybe shared office space at best. Interspersed with this part-time teaching was a couple of summers working for a carpenter who turned out to be a crack addict. Summer I cherished doing tile work with an old friend of mine from the same rural area where I grew up, and of course the 2 years in hell that I spent at a local bread plant, which I've talked about previously. To fill in the frequent bouts of unemployment in between it all, I have worked as a urban scavenger, as I've mentioned. In other words, I've spent my time combing the Osborne Village area for beer cans, cigarette butts, and anything else of value, which has also become the basis of an academic study of the culture of street people during that time. Winnipeg Harvest, though, does not cater to the street people, such as I often write about, particularly the ones who are truly homeless with no fixed address. You see, anybody with a Manitoba Health number and a phone available can access the service, the food bank. But they give out substantial amounts of food, more than any homeless person could possibly carry around with them or consume before it goes bad, particularly without refrigeration or the ability to cook it. You often get potatoes, for example. They're not much good to somebody who has no access to a kitchen. So the crowd you see at the food bank is different. The working poor with families to support, or those on EI or welfare who manage to maintain apartments like me. I usually go once per month when in need, though distribution happens twice per month, which is as often as you can go, if you call and add your name to the list. I remember last year, in October, I woke up one day to pouring rain and wind on my appointment day. Great, I thought. Should be a shorter line today at the food bank. And I've got that umbrella I found in the street last summer. Yay. Boy, was I wrong. The line was just as long as usual. 40 people at least ahead of me lined up out the door and into the tennis courts to the north of the building in the Mayfair Park where the local food bank's located. Many more arrived after me. Surprisingly few had umbrellas or rain gear of any kind, but there they all stood in the pouring rain, patiently waiting in the inclement weather for free food. And patience was required, too, as the doors didn't open for at least 20 minutes past the scheduled time, because the supply truck had arrived late, and they were still loading food in. But did anyone leave? Not one. That gives you an indication of the extent of the need on the part of the impoverished here in the city of Winnipeg. Once we finally filed in the door, oh so slowly in that kind of weather, we were given numbers, which were eventually called out in order. Until then, there was coffee available, as always, and a very crowded room to keep warm and dry in. When your number is called, you present your Manitoba Health Card number, which is how they keep their records, and then you are given an allotment. One person, two people, number of children, each of which receives different amounts of goodies. Only families with children get milk on a regular basis, for example. We save that for them. And only those with babies get formula or diapers when they are available. Makes sense, right? On this day, as I recall, I got a really good haul. 2 frozen pizzas, a commercial-sized bag of frozen French fries, which I fried up in the oven for the next week or more, a bag of frozen pierogies, the usual bag of canned goods and rice or pasta, your choice is what they usually give out here, box of cereal that day, bottle of tomato sauce with mushrooms, as well as 2 bags of lentils for soup, potatoes, which is normal, onions today, plenty of mushrooms, and 4 bags of bread and buns. I also got some whole wheat flour for baking in a little bag. I hauled it all home, of course, and made a sweet mushroom and tomato sauce for pasta that night, which fed me for a few days, along with the supplies I already had. And I must say, it's kind of like Christmas when you unpack all that stuff on your kitchen counter before storing it all away. It really is. So I know, many of you good people give to charities overseas to help the poor, which is admirable, of course. But keep in mind that we have poverty here in Canada as well, or wherever you yourself happen to live. Poverty is not just something that you find in poor countries after all. And consider the fact that we should take care of our own first when you pass by the food bank bins at your local supermarket. Some even offer pre-packaged food bank provisions you can purchase for $5 or $10 and know what is most needed as they are in contact with the food bank. And they include what is most needed in their bags. Some also have a list of what's most needed next to their care packages. They do in my local store, for example. Even that bread plant I used to work in, despite the fact that it was such a crappy place to work, does donate any bread that doesn't meet manufacturer's specifications to the food bank. Others do as well. And yes, I sometimes see a few people out front who can somehow afford to smoke tailor-made cigarettes instead of trolling the butts for streets like myself. And to be honest, there's even one crackhead I know of with a little red car who drives down from the condo that she lives in for free food to keep herself fat, so she can spend her own money on drugs. Her name is Daisy, and as far as I'm concerned, she's stealing food from the poor. But, that said, by and large, based on my own personal experience, you can be assured that any donations to your own local food bank is money well spent. Cheers.